Welcome, dear dreamer, to Driftwood Stories, where the night flows like a quiet river and the stars above shimmer with the memory of ancient times. Close your eyes and feel the hush settle over the world. The day has folded its wings. The moon casts her silver gaze across your thoughts, and sleep begins to bloom like a soft, sacred flower. Tonight we leave behind the lands of men and gods, and descend gently into the spaces between. Beneath the earth, where time slows and stories sleep, there lies a realm spoken of in myth, the Underworld. But do not be afraid. This is not a place of fire or cruelty. Here shadows are soft and silence is sacred. Here the air hums with the old songs of souls long at peace. And at the threshold of this realm, standing ever still, ever watchful, is a creature of legend, a guardian made not of flesh alone, but of duty and ancient magic. Cerberus, the three-headed hound of Hades. He has been feared by mortals, named a monster in tales passed from lips that never knew him. They say his eyes burn red, that his growl shakes the dead. But tonight we will not see the beast the world imagines. Tonight we will meet the heart beneath the howl. For Cerberus is more than his bark, more than his myth. He is the sentinel of sleep, the protector of the boundary between worlds, and, as we shall discover, even in the deepest dark, there are beings of great warmth, wrapped in unexpected forms. So breathe slow. Let your thoughts drift like petals on a quiet stream. Let the gates of story open before you, and walk with me into a tale of shadows and stars, of gentle strength and hidden light. This is the story of Cerberus, the guardian, the guide, the heart that watches in the dark. Chapter 1. At the Gates of Twilight. There is a place beyond the pulse of time, a place where the sky has never known the sun, and yet all is bathed in a gentle, eternal glow, like moonlight filtered through centuries. This is the threshold of the Underworld. Here rivers do not run, but drift, slow and silvery, whispering to one another in a language only the dead remember. Trees bloom without light, their leaves translucent and still, as though listening. Stones hum with memory, and the air, cool and vast, carries the quiet weight of unspoken stories. At the centre of this stillness stands a gate, vast, ancient and carved not from stone, but from the deep sleep of the world itself. Time passes differently here, sometimes not at all, and at this gate stands Cerberus. 3 heads, each one facing a different realm, past, present, and what might yet be. His fur is black as obsidian, flecked with the soft shimmer of constellations long forgotten. His eyes, 6 in all, burn not with fire, but with a silent, vigilant knowing. His breath is slow, steady, almost like waves upon a darkened shore. He does not growl. He does not pace. He waits. For Cerberus is not a creature of chaos, as some imagine. He does not hunger nor hunt. He guards, he remembers. He listens to the rhythm of the underworld, and in his presence all is held in balance. Souls arrive in quiet procession, some weeping, some relieved, none are turned away. Cerberus watches them pass, never speaking, but always seeing. He knows which are meant to cross. He knows who belongs. He has stood here since the first breath of the world was exhaled, and he will remain until the last. Time means nothing to him. Only the duty does. The stillness, the watching. But on this night, or what we would call night, for light and dark do not follow rules here, something changes. It is small at first, a tremor in the hush, a scent not of the dead nor of the gods, a feeling, living. One of his heads lifts, then another, then the third, slower, thoughtful. There, just beyond the edge of the gate, a figure, small, fragile, drifting like a petal on the river Styx. It is not a soul, it is something else, a dreamer, a mortal child, asleep somewhere in the upper world, lost in a dream that has wandered too far, far beyond the meadows of sleep, beyond the misty veil, beyond where mortals are ever meant to tread. She is barefoot, her nightgown pale and fluttering like breath. Her hair falls in soft spirals across her cheeks. She looks no older than 10. Cerberus watches. He does not move. Not yet. The child stumbles slightly, then steadies herself. She looks up and sees him. There is a moment, a silence, the kind of pause that stretches across lifetimes. She does not scream. She does not run. She simply says, "Hello." Cerberus tilts one of his heads, the one that looks toward the future. The child does not tremble. There is fear in her, yes, the natural kind, but also wonder. In all the centuries of his watch, none have spoken to him like this. He takes one step forward. The ground does not shake. The gate does not wail. Only a soft breeze stirs the dust. The child blinks. "Are you a dog?" she whispers. Cerberus almost smiles. Something ancient stirs within him. Not memory, but a feeling deeper still. Something from before the beginning. And though he does not speak, the girl hears something. A thought shaped like a whisper. "You are far from where you belong, little one." She nods slowly. I think I got lost." Cerberus lowers one of his heads just enough to meet her eyes. Gentle, patient, present. And for the first time in countless millennia, Cerberus makes a choice not written in any law, not bound by any oath. He does not send her away. He stays, he watches, and in that sacred hush between worlds a bond begins, quiet, tentative, wrapped in shadows and light. The guardian has seen many things, but never before has he seen someone see him, and so begins their journey, not into death, but through something older still, understanding. Her name, though she does not yet speak it, is Elen. She stands barefoot before the gates of the Underworld, a place no living child has ever stood. And yet here she is, soft and small beneath the silent stars that glow in colours unknown to the waking world. Elen does not remember how she got here. One moment she was lying in bed, the moonlight tracing shadows on her pillow, her breath slowing, her thoughts tumbling gently. And then she was walking, barefoot in a dream that had no edges. She followed the feeling of a lullaby she couldn't quite hear, drifting ever downward through mist and stillness, until she arrived at a place of stone and silver wind. And now she stands before him, Cerberus. To many he would be terror, but to Elen he is something else. 3 great heads, watching her with eyes that glow like coals remembered by morning. 1 head still, the 2nd tilting in curiosity, the 3rd blinking with an almost paternal patience. His fur ripples as though it holds the night sky within it, and when he shifts his massive weight, the ground murmurs but does not tremble. Elen looks up. She is not unafraid. No, her heart beats fast in her chest. But something about the great creature makes her feel seen, not threatened, not prey, protected. "Are you alone down here?" she asks, her voice tiny in the vast hush of the realm. Cerberus lowers the head that watches the past. It gazes at her, unblinking. In the language of presence, older than speech, he answers, not alone, but always apart. The words are not spoken aloud. They bloom quietly inside her mind like a feather settling in snow. Elen glances around. The gate behind Cerberus stretches high above, carved with symbols she cannot read. Beyond it, only mist and the suggestion of endless caverns. But beside her, behind her, there is nothing. No door, no path, only the dream and the dog. "Am I dead?" she asks softly. A pause. Cerberus studies her with all 3 heads. "No," comes the reply, slow and warm. "Not yet." Elen frowns, looking at her small hands. They seem as real as ever, but she knows this is not the world she fell asleep in. She knows she shouldn't be here. "I think I got lost," she says again. Cerberus steps forward once more. This time, all 3 heads move as one, slowly, gently. His paw, larger than her body, lands with the sound of distant thunder muffled by earth. Elen does not move away. She simply watches, her eyes wide and open. One of his heads leans down, close enough for her to touch, and for a moment they remain like that, child and guardian, at the edge of dreams and death. A breeze stirs, not cold, not warm, just present, like breath. Then, unexpectedly, Cerberus turns. He begins to walk, not through the gate, but along the path beside it. A narrow stretch of stone bordered by still water, barely visible until he moves. He pauses after a few steps, looking back at her with one of his heads. Elen tilts hers in return. Are you showing me the way?" One of his mouths parts. Not in a snarl, in something gentler. If a creature such as he could smile, perhaps this is what it looks like. "You are not meant to stay here, but you are here now. I will guide you until you remember your way back." Elen hesitates only a moment, then follows. Her bare feet make no sound on the stone. Her breath is calm now, deepening with each step. The path is strange but not frightening, lightless yet not dark. Shapes drift in the mist, not people but memories. Petals, feathers, fragments of forgotten lullabies, all watched silently by the hound. Cerberus leads, his steps deliberate and slow, always glancing back to be sure she is close. For all his enormity, there is gentleness in him, a kind of reverence for her fragility, and Elen, walking beside him, begins to feel something she hasn't since she arrived, safe. As they continue, she speaks in little questions. "What's beyond the gate? Do you get lonely? Do you sleep?" Cerberus does not answer every question. Some are left to float like leaves on a silent stream, but others he answers, not in words but in feelings. A rumble of thought, a pulse of memory, a shape behind the veil. I do not sleep, but I remember rest. I am not lonely, but I know longing. Beyond the gate are things not meant to be hurried. They walk for what might be moments or lifetimes. Time is soft here, pliable, like clay in the hands of a dreamer, and all the while Ellen grows calmer, her heartbeat sinking with the rhythm of this strange place, and the companion who walks beside her. For she has not wandered into danger, she has wandered into story, and the guardian of that story has chosen not to send her away. Chapter 3. Through the veins of the deep. They walk in silence at first, not the silence of emptiness, but the kind that hums softly with presence, a silence filled with echoing stories, with forgotten names and remembered songs. The kind that cradles rather than chills. The path beneath their feet widens slowly, revealing a landscape that does not stretch outward like the world above, but inward, downward, through layers of memory and meaning. Here the underworld does not roar or wail, it dreams, and Elen, small and sleepy-eyed, walks beside its gentlest sentinel. Cerberus moves with a grace that belies his enormity. His massive paws disturb neither wind nor stone. His 3 heads turn from time to time, one always watching Elen, the others sensing things unseen, ripples in the dream, quiet stirrings in the fabric of this realm. They pass through a grove of trees that shimmer like ghosts, pale trunks bent as though in listening, their leaves flickering with glimpses of other lives. When Elen brushes her hand along one branch, it shivers and sighs, and for a moment she feels a memory not her own, a lullaby sung by a voice she cannot name, wrapped in the scent of rosemary and home. "What are these?" she whispers. Cerberus speaks within her thoughts the way he always does. Soft, deep, slow. They are the resting places of memories too gentle to fade. They wait here, to be dreamed again. Elen breathes in. "They're beautiful." Cerberus nods. One head dips low, nudging a trunk in passing, like greeting an old friend. They move onward. Now the air changes, not colder, but denser, like walking through velvet. Before them lies a cavern lit by lightless flame, soft and blue, glowing without source. Pools of water mirror nothing above them, and the ceiling hangs with delicate threads of silver that sway to a rhythm neither of them can hear. "This place," Elen murmurs, "it feels like I've been here before, but I haven't. Have I?" Cerberus's answer is slower this time. Some places remember you, even if you have not remembered them. In the centre of the chamber lies a circle of smooth stone, surrounded by quiet flickers of light. Not fire, not stars, but something in between. Elen steps toward it. "What is this part?" "The Hall of Murmurs," Cerberus answers, "where unspoken thoughts come to rest." And as she stands within it, she begins to hear them, faint whispers rising not from her ears, but from somewhere inside. Words she never said, wishes she forgot, regrets too soft to hurt but too real to vanish. "I miss Mum," she says suddenly. "She's not gone, but I miss her." Cerberus does not respond with words. He simply sits. His vast body coils quietly around the edge of the circle, forming a barrier, not of stone or strength, but of presence, a shelter of being. And for the first time in her wandering, Elen kneels. She presses her hands to the floor and lets the tears come, not of fear, not even of sadness, but of release. Cerberus waits. All three heads watch her, not in judgment, not in confusion, but in the way mountains watch storms, with patience, with understanding. And when she is ready, she rises. The flickers around her dim, and the chamber exhales, as though the space itself had been holding its breath with her. Cerberus rises too. "Will you show me more?" she asks quietly, and he nods. They walk again into the deeper places now, past the riverbank of Lethe, where souls come to forget, past the sleeping garden where flowers bloom only in memory, past statues whose faces are always just slightly familiar, as if carved from dreams she once had but lost upon waking. At one point, Elen stops and places her hand against a wall carved with swirling lines. "Is this the end?" she asks. Cerberus shakes one head, then another. "No, the underworld does not end. It only deepens." She lets that answer settle in her bones and then asks, "Why are you helping me?" A long pause, then softly, "Because you did not run." And with that they pass through one final arch of whispering ivy, not green but silvered with ages, and come to a place of quiet water, so still it reflects not their shapes, but their feelings. Here Elen sees herself, not just as a child, but as someone whole, brave, awake, and standing beside her, reflected just as clearly, is Cerberus, not a monster, not a guard, but a companion, a watcher, a friend. They do not speak, they simply sit for a time in the heart of the underworld, in the gentle dark where all things begin to be known. Chapter 4, The Heart of the Watcher. They rest beside the still water for what feels like a long time, not because they are tired, not in the ordinary way, but because the space around them invites stillness, encourages it. The water does not ripple, the wind does not move. Even the silence here has weight, like velvet drawn across a window. Elen sits with her knees to her chest, gazing into the glassy surface, where she sees not just her reflection, but fragments of her journey, her first steps into the underworld, the glowing trees, the flickers of memory that brushed against her thoughts like moths in the dark. Beside her, Cerberus lies curled, three heads resting in different positions, one turned outward in vigil, one watching Elen, and one tucked beneath his great paws as if in sleep. "You've been kind," she says quietly, her voice no louder than the breath between dreams. Cerberus lifts the head closest to her and offers no words, only presence. "Do you ever wish?" She hesitates. "Do you ever wish you could leave?" A pause stretches between them. Then gently, "I am not trapped here. I was made for this place. I am its keeper, its memory, its rhythm. But don't you get lonely?" Cerberus shifts. The head that watches the past lifts slowly. Lonely, yes, but not unloved. There is a difference. Elen nods, though she doesn't quite understand. Not fully, but something in her heart responds. a small, blooming ache of knowing. She lies back against the cool ground and watches the sky, or rather, the ceiling of the cavern, which glows with slow-turning shapes. Not stars, but echoes of stars, drifting in patterns known only to the dead and the dreaming. "Will I go home?" she asks at last. Cerberus rises and turns one head toward the water. The surface has changed. Now it shows not Elen's reflection, but a window, a view of her bedroom. Moonlight falling across her sleeping body, the covers kicked off, her small form curled like a question mark. "You found me in a dream," she murmurs, "but I don't know how to find my way back." Cerberus stands fully now. All three heads gaze at the vision in the water. "You are not far, but you must choose. Choose to return, to wake. The longer you stay, the heavier the dream becomes. The deeper it holds you, soon you will not remember what lies beyond it." Elen kneels beside the water. The image flickers faintly. She can almost hear the distant hum of the world she left behind, a clock ticking, the soft creak of floorboards, a voice calling her name, muffled and far away. "But I'm not afraid here," she says. Cerberus lowers one head to meet her gaze. "Fear is not always a reason to run, nor is comfort always a reason to stay." Elen's eyes fill with tears, not of sorrow, but of weight. The weight of decision. The kind that only comes in the spaces between sleep and waking, when the soul stretches toward something true. "I don't want to leave you," she whispers. The great hound steps forward, his presence wrapping around her like warmth. "And I will not forget you." He leans in, and for a brief, eternal moment, Elen wraps her arms around the neck of the head that leans closest, the one that always watched her, the one that never turned away. His fur is soft, unexpectedly so, like thick moss beneath the stars. She does not speak again. She does not need to. She closes her eyes. Cerberus steps back. The water glows brighter, and then gently swells upward like mist. It surrounds Elen, folds over her like a lullaby, and then she is gone. Not lost, just elsewhere. The stone beside the pool is empty now. Cerberus sits once more at its edge, the three heads quiet, reflective. He does not howl. He does not weep. But for the first time in a long time, he feels the warmth of something left behind. Something small, something light, a soul that saw him not as monster nor myth, but as a watcher with a heart. And in that stillness, deep within the veins of the underworld, Cerberus, the guardian, rests his three heads upon the earth and dreams. Chapter 5, Night's Gentle Return. Elen woke just before the world did. The hush of pre-dawn held everything in place, like a breath paused on the edge of morning. Her eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the familiar dark of her room, the shelves, the curtains, the soft glow of her nightlight casting quiet shadows across the floor. She lay still for a moment, heart beating in a new rhythm. It wasn't panic, not fear. It was something else, a thrum of memory, distant and deep, like the last chords of a lullaby still echoing in the walls. She was home, and yet not the same. Beneath her blanket, her fingers curled instinctively around a fold of fabric, searching for reassurance. But the comfort she sought wasn't in touch. It was inside her now. A warmth settled low in her chest, like embers that had travelled home with her from another world. She remembered, not in words, not in names or maps, but in feeling. She remembered silver trees that sighed with memory, pools of still water that reflected not her face, but her soul, a gate that breathed, and above all, the quiet presence that walked beside her, larger than fear, older than the stars. Cerberus. She whispered his name aloud, unsure whether it would sound like a dream when spoken. But it didn't. It held its shape, steady and solid, like a stone in her hand. She sat up slowly, looking around as if expecting to find paw prints on the floor or flecks of starlight on her pillow. There were none, but in her heart. He remained, far below, where the roots of the world twined through shadow and silence. Cerberus stood once more at the gate. He had not left it, not truly. Even when guiding Elen through the deeper paths, a part of him remained ever watchful, ever present. That was his nature, his purpose. But now there was something else within him. A softness not at odds with his strength, but resting beside it, like moss on stone, like moonlight on steel. Souls passed, as they always did, some silent, some whispering, some crumbling into memory as they crossed the threshold. Cerberus let them through. His heads moved in harmony, their eyes glowing with timeless grace. But at quiet moments, when the mists thinned just enough to show the curve of the distant cavern wall, he would glance sideways to the place by the still water. The place where a child had once knelt and placed her hand against the earth, as if anchoring herself to a world that was not hers. There were no footprints left, no markings on the stone, and yet her presence lingered, not in scent, not in sound, but in memory, the kind of memory that sinks into the bones of a place, that hums along the edges of being, like a melody known only to those who've truly listened. Cerberus closed his eyes, and he dreamed, not like mortals do, but as guardians dream, in shapes of light and scent, in echoes of voices, in the rhythm of footsteps beside his own. Above, in the waking world, Elen stepped quietly to her window. The sky was turning, not fully morning, not yet, that tender in-between, when the stars are still visible if you know where to look. The trees outside shimmered with dew, and the world smelled like wet grass and soft beginnings. She pressed her palm to the glass. A whisper left her lips. "Thank you." She wasn't sure who she spoke to, or perhaps she was. Some part of her hoped the wind would carry it downward, through soil and stone, down to where shadows breathed slowly and stories slept. Later that day, her mother would find her gazing into the pond in the garden, or sitting on the back step, whispering to no one. She would ask gently, "What are you thinking about, love?" And Elen would smile and say, "Just remembering someone, that would be all, because some things, once known, live too deep for words." Time passed, as it always does. Elen grew. She laughed, she ran, she cried and failed and tried again. But sometimes, in the softest of nights, when sleep brushed her lashes and the hush of the world came near, she felt it. A paw step, a breath, a warmth beside her, ancient and kind, and she knew he still watched. Cerberus still stood at the gate, in the dream within the deep heart of the world, not feared, not forgotten, but remembered quietly as the watcher who once bent his head to a child not meant for death, and guided her gently home, not with roar or riddle, but with grace. Because true guardianship is not about teeth or chains, it is the choice, again and again, to protect the light even in the deepest dark. And so it was, and so it is, and so it will be, whenever the dream returns.